Okay, so I want you to just close your eyes for a second.
Hmm.
Imagine this. It's a Monday night,
Okay.
April 12th, 1965, if you want to be specific. You're in this, like, drafty little apartment in Elmira, New York. You're an artist, creative guy. But right now, you are just feeling absolutely miserable.
Oh, yeah. We've all been there.
Totally. You've been sick in bed for days, just that heavy, groggy, feverish feeling where your bones ache and your brain feels like it's just packed with cotton
It's
wool.
like that weird, floaty twilight zone of the flu where reality gets a little slippery.
Exactly. So you're Robert Butts Jane Roberts' husband.
Hmm.
You're lying there trying to rest, just drifting in and out of that fever sleep.
Hmm.
You close your eyes, expecting, just the usual darkness, the back of your eyelids.
Right.
But then all of a sudden, the darkness behind your eyelids,
Yeah.
it changes. It feels like the space inside your head physically widens. It dilates. It's not just a flat black screen anymore. It's like a cavern opening up.
Wow. I mean, that is such a specific, visceral description. It's so disorienting. It almost suggests that the boundaries of his physical senses are starting to, like, dissolve.
Right. But that's just the warm-up act.
Hmm.
Rob opens his internal eye, his mental vision, and he looks down at his own body. And superimposed over his actual left leg, he sees something else.
And this is where it gets really good.
He sees a second leg, but it's not a normal leg. It's a short leg. It starts at his hip, but it ends right at his actual knee. And it's perfectly formed. I mean, it has a foot, a knee, a thigh, but it's all compressed. It's the size of the dwarf's leg.
Whoa.
And it's just floating there, kind of ghosted over his real anatomy.
I mean, that is just high strangeness right out of the gate.
It is so bizarre. Can you imagine being the guy lying there, feverish, staring at this phantom limb? You're thinking, great, now I have a dwarf leg to go with my fever.
Just what I needed to complete the picture.
Welcome to the world of Rob and Jane.
Yeah.
And welcome to the deep dive.
Glad to be here. And honestly, that image you just described, the phantom dwarf leg, it's the perfect hook for today. Because while it sounds like, I don't know, a weird hallucination or a bad joke,
Or both.
or both, yeah, it's actually the catalyst for one of the most intense, profound, and frankly chilling philosophical downloads we have ever covered on this show.
It really is. We are going to go from, why do I have a ghost leg, to, does evil actually exist, in the span of like an hour. It is a steep curve, folks.
It's a massive curve, but I mean, that's Seth for you. He doesn't really do small talk.
Not at all. So, okay, let's orient ourselves before we jump off the deep end here.
Mm.
What exactly are we looking at today? What's the source?
We are diving deep into the early sessions, book 3 of the Seth material, and specifically we are looking at session 145.
And for all the archivists and the timeline nerds out there who track this stuff.
This session took place on April 12, 1965. It started at 9:00 p.m. sharp. The channel, as always, is Jane Roberts, speaking for the energy personality essence known as Seth.
And the witness, the man with the phantom leg, is her husband, Robert Butts, or Joseph, as Seth calls him.
The very same.
Now, before we get into the heavy metaphysics, and I am warning you right now, this gets heavy, we should probably drop our standard disclaimer.
Correct. This deep dive is distributed completely free of charge on all major platforms, and it's for educational purposes. We're here to explore the ideas presented in the source text.
Right, we're analyzing the philosophy, the arguments, the implications.
We are definitely not telling you how to live your life, and we are certainly not doctors giving medical advice.
Yeah. If you see a phantom leg, maybe call a doctor and listen to this.
Yeah.
And also, we have to give a massive shout out to the publisher, New Awareness Network, and the Seth material itself. If what we talk about today kind of blows your mind, and it probably will, you have to go to the source.
Absolutely. We are just scratching the surface. If you really want the full download, you should visit sethcenter.com/the-early-sessions. Buy the books. Study them.
Okay. So the mission for today, we aren't just talking about ghost legs, are we? That's just the appetizer.
No, not at all. The ghost leg is just the entry point. The mission today is to really try to understand Seth's argument about action, and specifically how our fundamental misunderstanding of what action is leads us to believe in things like evil and sickness.
And this is where it gets so tricky, right? Because Seth just completely challenges the way we humans view morality. He challenges the whole innocent victim narrative. He even challenges the way we look at, like, natural disasters.
It is incredibly controversial, and I have to admit, when I was reading the prep materials for this, there were moments where I literally stopped and I thought, okay, that is a very, very hard pill to swallow. It requires a really open mind because Seth isn't operating on a human social scale.
Yeah.
He's operating on a universal energy scale.
My mind is open and my leg is currently normal linked. So let's get into it. Set the scene for us. It's Monday night, 1965. Rob has been sick.
Right. So Rob, who Seth always refers to as Joseph, he's been dealing with some kind of illness. The notes don't specify exactly what it was, but it was enough to keep him in bed. And during the day, before the session even starts, he's having these impressions. He describes lying drowsily in bed and feeling that area of darkness behind his eyes abruptly get wider.
I just want to pause on that sensation for a second. The darkness getting wider. That feels so significant. It's almost like the physical boundaries of his skull were dissolving or something.
Exactly. It's a shift in focus. Usually when we close our eyes, the darkness is just, the back of our eyelids. It's a flat screen.
Yeah.
But Rob is describing a sudden depth, a 3D space opening up internally. It's a classic sign of the inner senses waking up. He's tuning out of physical reality and tuning into somewhere else.
And immediately after that sensation, that opening up, that's when he gets the visual, the shorter left leg. He says it looked like the leg of a dwarf, complete with a foot and a knee stemming from his hip.
And the detail that really gets me is that he says it was superimposed over his real leg. It wasn't that his leg disappeared and was replaced by this other one. It was that he was seeing two realities at once, the physical reality and an internal symbolic reality.
I just love that he tells Jane about this. He's like, honey, I think I grew a phantom dwarf leg today.
Great.
And they're so used to high strangeness at this point that Jane is probably just like, cool, remind me to ask Seth about it tonight.
That is literally what happened. In the session notes, Rob explicitly says that he reminded Jane about the leg just before the session began. He was hoping for a diagnosis. He wanted Dr. Seth to tell him what was going on with his phantom limb.
Hey, Seth, what's with the leg? Is it serious? Do I need to get, different pants now?
But as we're about to see, Seth has a very, very different agenda. He's not there to be a WebMD for hallucinations. He's there to teach metaphysics.
So 9:00 p.m. rolls around. How does Jane go under this time? How does the session begin?
The notes say she sat down, eyes closed. Her pace was slow. Her voice was low and husky. She had actually been napping, so she was already in that kind of semi-dissociated state. But the transition is instantaneous. Seth is just on immediately. He greets them with, "It is good to be by ourselves again."
And does he ask how Rob is feeling? Does he offer any sympathy? Oh, poor Joseph, you've been so sick. Let me get you some soup.
Not in the slightest. He jumps right into the diagnosis. But he's not prescribing antibiotics. He's prescribing philosophy. He connects the illness to the philosophy right away.
Classic Seth. What does he say?
He says, and I'm quoting here, "In one way or another, all illnesses have a root within ego's attempt to stand apart from the action of which it is composed, so that at times it fights against itself."
Okay, we need to stop right there and just unpack that sentence because that is dense. Ego's attempt to stand apart from action.
Right. This is the core of the entire session. To understand this, we have to define what Seth means by action.
And he doesn't mean action movies or, checking things off a to-do list.
No, not at all. Think of action, in Seth's terms, as the fundamental, intelligent energy of the universe. It's the flow of becoming. It's the fire, not the log. It's the wind, not the leaves blowing in the wind. It's the constant, fluid, creative unfolding of reality. We are made of this action. We are it.
Okay, so we are the flow. We aren't the boat on the river. We are the water itself.
Exactly. But then you have the ego.
The ego. The troublemaker.
Well, it's a necessary construct. It's the part of our consciousness that navigates physical reality. It loves boundaries. It loves to say, I am me, and that over there is not me. The ego wants to be a distinct, separate entity. It wants control. It wants to survive.
Right. The ego's like the guy at the party who stands in the corner and refuses to dance because he wants to maintain his dignity. He's stiff. He's separate.
That's a great analogy. And Seth is saying that when the ego tries too hard to stand apart, to separate itself from the flow of life, it creates friction. It's like a whirlpool in a river trying to separate itself from the current. It takes a huge amount of energy to maintain that separation.
And that energy expenditure, that friction, that's what manifests as illness.
Yes. The ego is literally fighting against its own nature. The body is made of action. The cells are made of action. But the ego is shouting, stop, hold still, I need to be safe, I need to control this. And that internal conflict creates the disease.
So sickness is basically the ego throwing a tantrum against reality.
In a very real sense, yes. It's resistance. It's a refusal to flow.
And Seth warns them right away, doesn't he? He says something like, what I'm about to say might sound callous.
He does. He knows this is a hard pill to swallow. He uses this incredible metaphor of bitter medicine.
I loved this part, but I also found it really challenging. Can you break it down for us?
Seth acknowledges that to the concerned and conscientious ego self, the world looks terrifying. It looks like the cup of human existence is just overflowing with disastrous evils that are like poison.
Wars, famine, sickness, phantom dwarf legs.
Exactly. And when we sip from that cup, when we experience pain or loss or sickness, it tastes bitter. We react with disgust. We say, this is wrong, this shouldn't be happening, this is bad.
Which is a totally natural human reaction.
Yeah.
I mean, if I stub my toe, I don't say, oh, thank you, universe, for this valuable lesson. I say words we can't say on this show.
No, of course. It's completely natural. But Seth says, and this is the key quote, the child who sips such a medicine finds it difficult to believe that such a distasteful brew can do him good.
So he's comparing the ego to a child.
Yes. A child doesn't understand that the nasty-tasting cough syrup is actually curing the infection. The child just knows it tastes bad. Seth is suggesting that what the ego perceives as evil or disaster or sickness might actually be a necessary corrective measure or part of a larger beneficial unfolding that the ego just can't see because its perspective is so limited.
That is, well, it's a tough sell. If I get the flu or if a hurricane hits my house, it's really hard to look at that and say, ah, yes, delicious medicine. Thank you, universe.
It's incredibly hard. It feels almost insulting to our suffering. And Seth totally gets that. But he pushes further. He drops the hammer. He says, basically, there is no evil action. All is unfolding.
There is no evil action. That is the chilling part I mentioned in the intro. That line just stops you in your tracks.
It creates a visceral reaction. No evil action. What about murder? What about cruelty? What about all of history's greatest monsters?
Exactly. We are wired to see good versus evil. That's like the basic operating system of humanity. Star Wars, the Bible, our legal system, it's all based on that duality. And Seth is saying, nope.
He's saying that good and evil are judgments made by the ego, not fundamental truths of the universe. He says the ego has limited perceptions. It can't see the whole picture. It's like judging a 5-act play from the middle of the second act without knowing the ending or the overall themes.
And this leads right into the hurricane analogy. This, for me, was the centerpiece of the whole session because it forces you to change your perspective.
It's such a brilliant image. Seth says, look at a hurricane. It's tumultuous, it's destructive, it causes havoc, it tears down homes.
Right. It's objectively bad for the people living in its path.
But do we morally blame the wind?
No. We don't put the wind on trial. We don't say the wind is wicked or sinful. We don't say the wind has a bad soul or needs to go to jail.
Exactly. We recognize it as a force of nature. It's just energy moving, it's action, it's pressure systems equalizing. We might hate the result, but we don't judge the essence of the wind as evil.
Okay, I'm with you on the wind.
Right.
But here is the massive jump. Seth applies this to people, to criminals.
He does, and this is where it gets really uncomfortable. He says, you must somehow manage to understand that a wrongdoer, in your eyes, is no more or less to blame than this, meaning than the hurricane.
Whoa, so a murderer is just the wind.
From the perspective of the inner self or the larger reality, yes. The wrongdoer is part of a tumultuous unfolding of energy. Their action, even if it's incredibly destructive, is still action. It is energy-seeking expression and fulfillment.
But hold on a second. Seth isn't saying we should just let murderers run loose, is he? Because that just sounds like anarchy. Oh, he's just a hurricane. Let him destroy the village.
No, and that's a crucial distinction. Seth is very pragmatic. He explicitly says it would be foolhardy to ignore the results of such activity.
Okay, good. That's a relief.
Just like with a hurricane, we deal with the havoc. We help the victims. We set things straight. We might even have to lock someone up to prevent more damage, just like we would build seawalls or board up windows.
Right. We clean up the mess. We contain the threat.
But the point is about moral judgment and hate. Seth argues that judging the wrongdoer as evil obscures the truth of the situation. It keeps us trapped in the ego's limited dualistic view. We are looking at the result of the action, the destruction, but we are cutting ourselves off from the source of the action.
It's like we're getting mad at the puppets and completely ignoring the strings.
Or getting mad at the wave for crashing without understanding the ocean. If you label the criminal as evil, you separate yourself from them. You say, I am a good human, they are a monster. But Seth says, no, you are both made of action. You are both part of the same whole.
This gets even stickier, though, Because if there is no evil, then what is happening when a crime is committed? Is it just random energy? Seth goes into the relationship between the victim and the perpetrator here, and this is where I think listeners might really struggle.
Yes. This is the part where the chill factor really kicks in. And I want to be very careful discussing this because in our current social climate, this is radioactive. It can sound a lot like victim blaming.
It sounds exactly like victim blaming.
But Seth is operating on a metaphysical level, not a sociological one. He says there are always those who court injustice and persecution. There are always those who persecute. There are those who murder, and there are those who seek to be slain.
Seek to be slain. I mean, that is a heavy phrase.
It implies a subconscious or perhaps even a soul-level agreement, a pre-life contract maybe. Seth says they seek each other out for many complicated reasons.
And those reasons come down to value fulfillment.
Value fulfillment. It's a core Seth term. It means the innate drive of consciousness to explore all possibilities, to experience all aspects of reality, the light and the dark.
So you're saying that on a soul level way below the ego, way below what we are conscious of in our daily lives, the victim and the murderer might have agreed to this dance.
A macabre dance, to be sure.
Right.
But a dance of energy, yes. Seth even says if a crime is to be assigned in humanity's terms, often the victim is as guilty as the murderer in basic terms.
Again, we have to parse that word guilty, because if I'm walking down the street and I get mugged, I definitely don't feel guilty. I feel violated, and I feel like I just lost my wallet.
No, of course not. And guilty here doesn't mean you deserved it in a moral sense. It implies responsible for the co-creation of the reality. Seth is saying we create our reality, all of it, not just the nice parts. If you are part of a violent act, on some deep level, your energy, your beliefs, your fears, or maybe your soul's curriculum attracted or co-created that event.
That is a terrifying level of responsibility.
Yeah.
It completely removes the comfort of being a helpless bystander in your own life. It implies we are deeply entangled in everything that happens to us.
It is terrifying. But it's also the ultimate empowerment, because if you co-created it, even the bad stuff, you have the power to change it. If you are just a victim of random evil, you are powerless. You're just a leaf blowing in the wind. But Seth says you are the wind.
But why, why would anyone seek out being a victim? That seems so counterintuitive to survival.
Seth touches on this. He talks about roles. He says, we all have our roles. The ego lives intimately the role which was assigned to it.
Oh, okay, so the ego is just playing the part that was written for it.
Right. Think of it like a grand stage play. You have the hero and you have the villain. The actor playing the villain isn't actually evil. The actor playing the victim isn't actually weak. They are just playing their parts perfectly to tell a powerful story.
But the problem is, the ego doesn't know it's in a play.
Exactly. The ego is like an actor who has completely forgotten they're in a play.
Yeah.
Method acting gone horribly wrong.
No, I actually am Hamlet, and everyone is trying to kill me for real.
Yes. The ego looks around the stage, it sees the disasters and terrors of the script, the sword fights, the poison, the betrayals, and it panics. It doesn't know these are just temporary roles for the soul's expansion. It thinks it's real, it thinks it's permanent, it thinks death is the end.
And that panic, that's where the illness comes from again. It all loops back.
It all loops back. Seth says the ego becomes bitter and mortally frightened with no place to turn, and it sickens the body and shrivels.
It shrivels. I can just picture the ego as this little dried-up sponge curled into a tight ball in the corner of the mind.
And it concentrates on the morbid aspects of the environment. It becomes obsessed with safety, with fear, with protection. It builds walls, and those walls block the flow of action.
And Seth has a formula for this fear, right? Because fear seems to be the absolute root of this evil perception.
Yes. This is a beautiful piece of logic. Seth defines hate very simply. Hate is unreasoning fear.
Okay, so hate equals fear. And what is fear?
Fear is caused by lack of understanding, by a lack of value fulfillment.
So the chain is, you don't understand something, which leads to you fearing it, which then can curdle into hating it.
Precisely. Seth says, and this is another amazing line, hate is that which fears to join, and hence is separate, and that is all.
Fears to join. That's such an interesting way to phrase it. It's not about aggression, it's about a terror of connection.
Think about it. If you truly understood that you are connected to everything, that you and the criminal and the hurricane are all made of the same essential action, you couldn't hate. You only hate what you believe is separate from you. You only hate the other.
That's so profound. If I realize the other is just another part of the same energy I am, hate becomes impossible. It would be like your left hand hating your right hand.
Exactly. It would be absurd. Seth says if humanity could learn to love in this way, with this deep understanding of connection, the word punishment would vanish from our vocabulary. We would correct, we would heal, we would restrain, but we wouldn't punish.
Man, that is a high bar. That's advanced level humanity right there.
It's the ultimate bar.
So, okay, we have this panicked ego. It's sick. It's scared. It's seeing phantom legs because its reality is starting to glitch. It thinks the world is full of evil. What is the cure? What is Seth's prescription for Rob?
This is my absolute favorite part of the session because of the contrast. We've been talking about murder and soul contracts and the nature of the universe, and then Seth basically says, Rob, you need to go touch grass.
Literally. Go outside. Go for a walk.
Seth tells him, the daily walk that you plan is not only an excellent idea, but had you carried this through in the past, there is a good possibility that you would not have become ill.
A walk could have prevented this entire metaphysical crisis.
Yes, because nature is action in its purest form.
Okay, explain that. How's a tree action? It just kind of stands there.
But it's growing. It's photosynthesizing. It's part of a cycle. Seth says the physical universe, the seasons, the outdoors is automatically refreshing and renewing. When you walk outside, you are immersing yourself in action that isn't neurotic. A tree doesn't have an ego crisis about whether it's a good enough tree. The wind doesn't worry about being evil. It just is. It flows, it grows, it dies, it renews.
So by being in nature, the ego gets to relax. It gets to kind of resonate with that healthy, non-panicked frequency.
The ego gets to feel its relationship to the greater reality again. It stops fighting. It realigns with the flow. It's like recalibrating a compass. You stop staring at the navel of your own problems and you look at the horizon.
That is actually such simple, practical advice. When you're spiraling, don't just sit in your room and try to think your way out of it. You can't think your way out of an ego trap using the ego. You have to physically step outside of it.
And spontaneity is the key here. Seth tells Rob, within the framework of your disciplined nature, you must allow now for more spontaneity.
Rob was a very disciplined guy, right? He was a painter, he had a routine, he was probably a bit rigid.
Very disciplined, very conscientious. And Seth warns him, only fear can hold you back. He says discipline is great, but discipline without spontaneity is just rigor mortis. It's lifeless.
And speaking of rigor mortis, he connects this directly to aging.
Oh, right, the aging quote. I highlighted this one because it's so startling.
Read it for us.
The physical symptoms of old age are the physical manifestations of fear in the tissues.
Fear in the tissues. That is such a visceral image. It's not just wear and tear, it's stored terror, it's crystallized anxiety.
It implies that if you could live without fear, with total spontaneity and trust in action, you wouldn't age, or at least not in the way we expect. You wouldn't stiffen up, you'd stay strong and vital until death.
So the wrinkles, the stiff joints, that's just calcified fear.
According to Seth, yes. We hold on, we resist the flow, and that resistance physically hardens us over time.
I feel like I need to go for a walk right now. Just shake some fear out of my tissues.
It's the best prescription there is. Spontaneity.
So we're coming to the end of the session. Rob has listened to this absolutely incredible download about good and evil. He's been told to go for a walk. But there's a very big, very weird loose thread.
The leg.
The dwarf leg, the whole reason we started this conversation.
Seth is wrapping up. He wishes them a pleasant evening. And then he says, almost as an aside, nor have I forgotten your request, Joseph, that I speak concerning your 2 experiences when you were ill.
He remembers. Okay, good.
He remembers. But then he pulls the ultimate tease.
No. Don't tell me he just leaves them hanging.
He says, however, a discussion of them will fit in much more conveniently with our next session.
Are you kidding me? That is a classic cliffhanger. Tune in next week to find out why you grew a phantom limb.
It is so Seth. He prioritizes the deep lesson on morality and ego over the special effect. He knows the leg is what Rob is most curious about, but he makes him wait. He wants Rob to digest the bitter medicine first.
That's actually brilliant. He knows that if he explains the leg first, Rob might just tune out the philosophy.
Yeah.
But by making him wait, he forces him to really think about the action concept.
Exactly. The leg is just a symptom. The action is the cause.
But just for our listeners, because we can't leave them hanging entirely, do we have any hint as to why he saw a short leg? A dwarf leg?
Well, without spoiling the next deep dive too much, think about what we just discussed. Rob felt shriveled by fear. He felt his progress was stunted, that he wasn't living up to his potential. The image of a dwarf leg, fully formed but not fully grown, unable to really reach the ground, is a pretty potent symbol for an ego that is afraid to stand fully in its own power.
Oh, that is good. The phantom leg was a physical hallucination of his stunted psychological state.
Potentially, but we'll have to wait for Seth's full official explanation.
So what does this all mean? Let's try to summarize this deep dive. This was a lot of heavy information.
Okay, let's recap the big takeaways. First, illness is often the ego fighting the natural flow of action. It's a physical manifestation of resistance to reality. It's the whirlpool fighting the river.
2. Evil is a phantom. It's an illusion created by fear and a lack of perspective. We judge the hurricane because it hurts us, but the universe just sees energy unfolding. There is no evil action. There is only action.
3. Victims and perpetrators are locked in a complex, hidden dance of value fulfillment. A really hard concept, but it challenges us to take total responsibility for our reality. We are never just innocent bystanders.
And 4. The cure for the ego's panic is connection. It's connecting with nature, connecting with the inner self, and, just getting outside and taking a walk.
Spontaneity over fear, that's the mantra. If you want to stay young, stay spontaneous.
I love it. So next time you feel sick or scared or just totally overwhelmed by the news, you can ask yourself, is my ego just freaking out because it doesn't see the whole picture? Is it tasting bitter medicine and thinking it's poison?
And maybe, just maybe, go for a walk before you start seeing dwarf legs growing out of your hip.
Had advice.
Before we go, we cannot stress this enough. Go read the books. This session, number 145, is just 4 or 5 pages in a massive, life-changing collection of work.
Head over to sethcenter.com. Check out the early sessions. It really is a treasure trove.
And a huge thank you to New Awareness Network for keeping this essential material available.
And thank you for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll catch the next reality.
Stay spontaneous.